The control room fell silent as the massive alien ships appeared on the main screen. Admiral James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his weathered face betraying no emotion. But inside, his heart pounded. These were the biggest warships he had ever seen. "How many?" he asked. The young officer at the radar station swallowed hard. 27, sir. All bigger than anything we have. The smallest one is about the size of our largest carrier." Walker nodded. After 30 years in Earth's Navy, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, sir," another officer called out. "They want to talk." "Put them on," Walker ordered. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature looked almost human, but with gray-blue skin and eyes that were too large, too dark. It wore some kind of metal armor that gleamed under bright lights. "I am Lord Commander Vex of the Dominion Fleet," the alien said in perfect English. "Your planet is now under our protection. Resistance is not advised." Walker stepped forward. "This is Admiral James Walker of Earth's United Defense Forces. We have no quarrel with you. Why have you come to our system?" The alien's mouth stretched into what might have been a smile. "Your resources are valuable to us. Your technology is not. We offer you a simple choice. Join the Dominion as a working colony, or face removal." "Removal?" Walker asked, though he understood perfectly well. "Extinction," Vex said simply. "We will give you 1 month to prepare your surrender documents. In the meantime, we will remain at the edge of your solar system." The alien's image disappeared before Walker could respond. "Get me the World Council," Walker said. Now, 3 hours later, Walker stood in the grand meeting hall of the World Council. Representatives from every nation sat around a massive round table, their faces grim. "They call themselves the Dominion," Walker explained, pointing to the images of the alien ships projected on the wall. "Their ships are unlike anything we've ever encountered. Based on our scans, their weapons could reduce our cities to ash in minutes." "What do they want?" asked President Lowe of the North American Alliance. "Our planet. Our resources. They want us to work for them as a colony." The room erupted in angry voices. "We have 1 month to surrender," Walker continued when the noise died down. "Or they attack." "Can we fight them?" asked General Kim. "What are our chances?" Walker shook his head. "With our current technology and weapons, the military assessment is not good. Their ships have energy shields we can't penetrate. Their hulls are made of materials we don't understand." "So we surrender?" someone asked. Before Walker could answer, the room's lights dimmed. A hologram appeared in the center of the table. Lord Commander Vex, larger than life, looking down at them. "I thought I would check on your progress," the alien said. "Have you begun preparing for your new place in the Dominion?" President Lowe stood up. "We are discussing your offer, but you must understand that Earth is home to billions of people with their own cultures and histories. We cannot simply surrender everything we are." Vex laughed, a sound like metal grinding against stone. "You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. This is mercy. We could take your planet by force right now." Walker stepped forward. "If you could, you would have. There must be a reason you're giving us time." For just a moment, something like surprise crossed the alien's face. "Clever human," Vex said. "Yes, the Dominion has protocols. We give primitive species a chance to join us peacefully. It's more efficient." "And if we refuse?" Walker asked. Vex's hologram waved a hand, and suddenly the space above the table filled with images of Earth's orbital stations and defense satellites. Then, one by one, they blinked out. "We've just destroyed 12 of your orbital platforms," Vex said calmly. "A demonstration." Phones began ringing around the room as reports came in confirming the attack. "Your ships are primitive. Your weapons are toys. Your defenses are—" Vex paused, searching for the word. "Junk. You have a fleet of junk." Walker clenched his fists but said nothing. 1 month, Vex repeated. Then we clean up your junk and take what we need. The hologram disappeared. The room exploded into panic. Leaders shouted at each other. Some were already talking about surrender terms. Others demanded immediate military action, no matter how hopeless. Walker stood silent, his mind racing. During the aliens' display, he had noticed something odd about the way the orbital platforms were destroyed. The alien weapons had followed a pattern. They only targeted platforms that were broadcasting active signals. "Dr. Reed," Walker said suddenly, cutting through the noise. "Is Dr. Anna Reed here?" A woman stood up from the science section of the table. She was in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes behind simple glasses. "I'm here, Admiral," she said. "Did you see what I saw?" Walker asked her. Reed nodded slowly. "The pattern of destruction. They only hit active systems." "Can I speak with you privately?" Walker asked. President Lowe overheard them. "Admiral, whatever you have to say can be said to all of us. We're out of options here." Walker took a deep breath. "What if we're not? What if the very thing Vex mocked, our junk fleet, could be our advantage?" Reed's eyes widened as she caught on. "You're thinking about the blind spot theory, using outdated technology against advanced systems." "Exactly," Walker said. "They're shields, they're targeting systems, they're designed to counter modern threats. Advanced weapons. But what about the old stuff? The obsolete tech. The space junk we have orbiting our planet." For the first time since the aliens appeared, a spark of hope lit Reed's face. It could work. Their systems might be calibrated to ignore anything they consider non-threatening. "What are you two talking about?" General Kim demanded. Walker turned to address the room. "We need everything. Every decommissioned satellite. Every outdated spacecraft. Every piece of space junk we can lay our hands on. I want to create a fleet that their systems won't even register as a threat." "You want to fight the most advanced warships we've ever seen with garbage?" someone asked incredulously. "Yes," Walker said firmly. "They're expecting us to either surrender or try to match their technology. We'll do neither. We'll go low-tech. So low they won't see us coming." President Lowe studied Walker's face. "How sure are you about this, Admiral?" "Not at all," Walker admitted. "But it's the only advantage I can see. They're overconfident. They've shown us their playbook. And they've underestimated what humans can do with junk." Reed stepped forward. "I can start drawing up plans immediately. We'll need to gather every engineer, every mechanic, everyone who understands old space tech." President Lowe looked around the room. "Does anyone have a better idea?" Silence was the only answer. "Very well," Lowe said. "Operation. What should we call it?" "Junkyard," Walker said. "Operation Junkyard." And so, with 1 month until annihilation, humanity began gathering its trash to save the world. 3 weeks had passed since the Dominion's ultimatum. The old space station that once served as a tourist attraction was now the command center for humanity's last hope. Inside, Admiral Walker stood before a large window, watching the activity outside. "It's something, isn't it?" Dr. Reed said as she joined him at the window. Walker nodded. In the space around Earth, thousands of objects moved in a strange dance. Old satellites, abandoned space modules, and decommissioned ships floated in careful formations. Workers in spacesuits swarmed around them like bees, welding, cutting, and connecting. "How many do we have now?" Walker asked. Reed checked her tablet. "Just over 8,000 pieces. Everything from 50-year-old weather satellites to museum display ships." "Will it be enough?" Reed didn't answer right away. "It has to be." A loud clang echoed through the station as the main airlock opened. A man in a dirty jumpsuit walked in, his boots leaving greasy marks on the clean floor. His face was lined with age and hard work, and his gray beard was trimmed close to his jaw. "Tom Reynolds," Reed said with a smile. "Our space garbage man." Reynolds snorted. "Doctor, Admiral," he said with a nod to each. Your junk fleet is coming along. We've got the old Russian satellites linked up with the Chinese Space Lab sections. Ugly as sin, but they're moving as one unit now. And the modification to their signaling systems? Walker asked. Done, Reynolds said, just like the doc ordered. They'll read as space debris to most scanning systems, but they're armed and ready. Not that I understand half of what we've done. Reed turned to a nearby screen. Let me explain again. The Dominion ships use advanced targeting systems that filter out what they consider non-threats. Their scanners are looking for energy signatures from modern weapons, engines, and shields. She pulled up a diagram showing the Dominion ship surrounded by a glowing field. But their filters have blind spots. They're designed to ignore objects their AI classifies as debris. Things too small, too old, or too primitive to be a threat. Reynolds scratched his beard. So we're turning our junk into weapons that look like junk. Exactly, Reed said. We've modified thousands of objects to carry what we call blind spot bombs. Simple devices that can slip past their filters and attach to their ships. And then boom, Reynolds asked. And then boom, Reed confirmed. But first we need to create gaps in their shields. That's where your team comes in. Before Reynolds could respond, an alarm sounded. Walker moved quickly to the command station where a young officer sat at attention. Dominion scout ship detected, sir. It's approaching our construction area. Walker's face hardened. How close? Close enough to see what we're doing, sir. Walker and Reed exchanged worried looks. If the Dominion discovered their plan now, they might attack immediately. Reynolds, Walker said, can your team make this look like, well, like junk? Reynolds grinned. Making stuff look like junk is my specialty, Admiral. He grabbed a radio from his belt. Attention all workers. Code Gray. I repeat, Code Gray. Make it messy, people. Outside, the organized work quickly changed. Workers began moving erratically. Some pieces were pushed out of formation. Others were left half-assembled. In minutes, the careful operation looked like a desperate, disorganized effort. The Dominion scout ship, sleek and silver, moved slowly through the field of satellites and space debris. Its scanning beams swept over the human activity. Inside the command center, everyone held their breath. They're broadcasting, the communications officer said. Put them through, Walker ordered. A different alien face appeared on screen, younger than Vex, but with the same arrogant expression. Human efforts detected, the alien said flatly. Primitive defensive preparations observed. Walker stepped forward, putting on a worried expression. We are merely trying to protect our orbital assets as best we can. We mean no aggression. The alien seemed amused. Your efforts are futile. These objects cannot harm a Dominion vessel. We are simply using what we have, Walker said humbly. We are a peaceful people. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Your junk fleet is noted. It poses no threat. Continue if you wish. It makes no difference. The transmission ended. Reynolds let out a long breath. Well, that worked better than expected. Walker turned to him. How quickly can you get things back in order? An hour, maybe less, Reynolds said. The real work never stopped. We just made it look messy. Good, Walker said, because we have less than a week left, and I want every piece in position before the Dominion returns. 5 days later, Earth's orbit was filled with what appeared to be chaos. Thousands of satellites, space modules, and small ships drifted in seemingly random patterns. From a distance, it looked like a junkyard had exploded. But it wasn't random at all. Deep inside the command station, Walker, Reed, and Reynolds stood around a 3D map showing the positions of every piece in their junk fleet. Final check, Walker said. Shield disruptors. Ready, Reed replied. 2,300 small units, each designed to create a tiny blind spot in their shields. Delivery systems. Reynolds nodded. 500 modified tugs and maintenance vehicles. Not pretty, but they'll get the bombs where they need to go. Communications. All units can receive and transmit on the old frequencies, Reed said. The Dominion won't be monitoring those. Walker studied the map and our secret weapon. Reed smiled slightly. The Chaos Protocol is ready. But remember, we can only use it once. After that, they'll adapt. Walker nodded gravely. It will be our last resort. On a screen nearby, a news broadcast showed scenes from Earth. People were either preparing for evacuation or gathering in places of worship. Nobody believed the junk fleet would save them. The reporters talked about humanity's final week and Earth's last days. Reynolds turned off the screen with a grunt. Let them talk. They don't know what we know. And what's that? Walker asked. That sometimes, Reynolds said with a grin, one man's trash is another man's superweapon. Reed looked at her watch. The Dominion fleet is expected to return in 18 hours. Walker straightened his uniform. Then let's make sure we're ready to give them a proper welcome. Outside, Earth's last defense, a fleet made of forgotten technology and discarded machines, moved silently into position. From a distance, it looked like nothing more than floating junk. And that was exactly the point. The day of the deadline arrived with a tense silence. On Earth, people huddled around screens, watching the sky. In orbit, Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of the Defiance, their command ship made from an old space station with engines attached to its sides. They're here, the radar officer announced. The main screen showed the Dominion fleet appearing at the edge of the solar system. One by one, the massive warships emerged from light-speed travel. Their hulls gleamed like polished metal in the sunlight. Each ship was shaped like a spear point, sharp and deadly. 27 ships, Reed said from her station. Same as before. Walker nodded. Time to see if our plan works. Get me a channel to their command ship. Before the communications officer could respond, the screen flickered, and Lord Commander Vex appeared. He wore full battle armor now, with symbols that probably showed his rank and achievements. Your time is up, humans, Vex said. His voice was cold and clear. I see you've gathered your junk as some kind of defense. How amusing. Walker kept his face neutral. We wish to talk, Lord Commander. Perhaps we can come to terms that benefit both our peoples. Vex seemed surprised. Terms? There are no terms. There is only surrender. Then at least allow me to discuss the details of our surrender, Walker said, forcing his voice to sound defeated. I propose we meet face to face. There's an old space station halfway between our current positions. It's abandoned, neutral ground. Vex considered this. Very well. One last talk before you submit. It makes no difference to the outcome. Thank you, Walker said, bowing his head slightly. I'll bring 2 advisors. No weapons. I will meet you there in 1 Earth hour, Vex said before cutting the transmission. As soon as the screen went dark, Walker turned to Reed and Reynolds. You 2 are with me. And yes, we're bringing weapons, just not the kind he's expecting. The abandoned space station was cold and dark. Emergency lights cast long shadows across empty corridors. Walker, Reed, and Reynolds waited in what had once been a conference room. Each carried small devices hidden in their clothes, specialized sensors designed to gather data on Dominion technology. The station shook slightly as a Dominion shuttle docked. Minutes later, Vex entered with 2 guards. The alien commander was taller in person, nearly 7 feet, with broad shoulders and a confident stride. Admiral, Vex said with a slight nod. Let us make this quick. I have a planet to claim. Walker gestured to the old conference table. Please, sit. We have prepared documents outlining how the transition might work with minimal disruption. As they sat, the hidden sensors began their work, silently scanning the aliens' technology. Reed engaged one of the guards in conversation about their ship's life support systems, asking innocent-sounding questions that revealed critical information. Reynolds, meanwhile, pretended to be a simple technician, staying quiet while his sensors recorded data about the aliens' armor. Your people will be allowed to keep their basic governance structures, Vex explained as he looked over the documents Walker had brought. Under Dominion supervision, of course. Resource extraction will begin immediately. And what guarantees do we have that you won't simply eliminate us once you have what you need? Walker asked. Vex's large eyes narrowed. The Dominion does not waste useful resources. Your people will serve as labor. If you cooperate, you will be treated well. I see, Walker said slowly. And your ships, will they remain in orbit permanently? A small contingent will stay, Vex said. The Battleborn fleet is too valuable to waste on garrison duty once a world is pacified. Reed glanced at Walker. That was valuable information. The aliens wouldn't keep their main fleet at Earth once they believed the planet was under control. One more question, Walker said. How many worlds has the Dominion acquired in this way? Vex seemed pleased by the question, a chance to showcase their power. 372 inhabited worlds across 12 star systems. None have successfully resisted. You would be wise to learn from their example. Walker nodded solemnly. I appreciate your honesty. It makes our decision clearer. Then you agree to surrender? Vex asked. Walker sighed heavily, putting on his best defeated expression. I need to consult with Earth's leaders one final time. We request 24 hours to prepare our people and finalize the documents. Vex stood up. 24 hours, not 1 minute more. After that, we take what we want by force. I understand, Walker said. Thank you for your mercy. Vex and his guards left the station. Once their shuttle had departed, Reed turned to Walker. Did you get what you needed? Walker asked her. Reed smiled as she checked her hidden device. Everything. Their shield frequencies, power distributions, blind spots. It's all here. Reynolds whistled low. They really don't see us as a threat, do they? They didn't even scan us for hidden tech. Pride, Walker said. Their greatest weakness. They're so certain of their superiority that they can't imagine primitive humans could pose any danger. He activated his communicator. This is Walker to all fleet commanders. Operation Junkyard is now active. I repeat, Operation Junkyard is now active. Back aboard the Defiance, Walker addressed the captains of Earth's makeshift fleet. Most joined by video link from their own vessels, converted space tugs, old research ships, and cobbled-together fighters. The Dominion believes we're preparing surrender documents, Walker said. Instead, we're launching our attack at dawn. On the main screen, Reed displayed the data from their meeting with Vex. As we suspected, their shields have significant blind spots when it comes to low-tech approaches. Their systems are designed to detect energy weapons, not simple kinetic attacks. They're watching us, Walker continued, but they're seeing what they expect to see, a defeated planet moving its junk around while preparing to surrender. Reynolds stepped forward. Each of you has been assigned targets and approach vectors. Remember your training. Slow and steady. Make your ships look like they're drifting. Don't power up weapons until you're in position. A captain from one of the converted mining ships raised his hand. Sir, even with their blind spots, we're still vastly outgunned. If this fails, Earth falls, Walker said simply. But it won't fail. Because we have the one advantage they don't expect. They think we've already lost. Reed added, and remember, we don't need to destroy their entire fleet. We just need to hurt them enough that they decide Earth isn't worth the cost. Walker looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we either save our world or lose it. Either way, I'm proud to serve with all of you. As the meeting ended, Walker stood by the window of the Defiance, looking out at Earth below. The blue planet seemed so peaceful from up here, with no sign of the fear gripping its people. Do you think it will work? Reed asked, joining him. Walker didn't turn from the window. It has to. In the distance, the Dominion fleet hung like predators waiting to strike. They had no idea that the junk they mocked was about to change everything. Dawn broke over the curve of Earth, bathing the planet in golden light. In the command center of the Defiance, Admiral Walker watched the main screen as the Dominion fleet moved into attack position. Their ships formed a perfect line, like soldiers on parade. "They're expecting us to surrender," Walker said quietly. "They're not in battle formation." Reed checked her tablet. "All units report ready, Admiral." Walker took a deep breath. This was it, humanity's last stand. Send the signal. Throughout Earth's orbit, thousands of silent, drifting pieces of space junk suddenly came to life. Old satellites changed course. Abandoned modules fired up hidden thrusters. What had looked like random debris began moving with purpose. On the Dominion command ship, Lord Commander Vex frowned as his scanner officer reported unusual movements. "The humans are moving their junk," the officer said with confusion. "Probably clearing a path for our ships," Vex said dismissively. "Continue approach." But something was wrong. The human junk wasn't moving away. It was moving toward the Dominion fleet. Thousands of small objects accelerated on an intercept course. "My lord," the scanner officer said, alarm now clear in his voice. "The debris. It's attacking." Vex stood up sharply. "Impossible. Activate shields." The beautiful blue-white energy shields of the Dominion fleet flickered to life, surrounding each ship in a protective bubble. Under normal circumstances, these shields could withstand asteroid impacts and energy weapons alike. But these weren't normal circumstances. The first wave of modified satellites reached the Dominion shields. Instead of bouncing off or being destroyed, they attached themselves to the shield surfaces. Their simple electronic systems began sending conflicting signals into the shield matrix. "What are they doing?" Vex demanded as warning lights flashed across his command console. "The human devices are confusing our shields," his technology officer reported. "They're too primitive for our systems to properly classify. The defense matrix doesn't know how to respond." "Destroy them," Vex ordered. The Dominion ships fired their advanced weapons, but most of the shots missed. The targeting systems, like the shields, were designed to track sophisticated threats, not simple objects moving in unusual patterns. Back on the Defiance, Walker watched as the first phase of their plan succeeded. "Shield disruption at 70% and climbing," Reed reported. "Blind spots are forming." Walker nodded. "Launch Phase 2. Throughout the fleet, Reynolds and his team of space salvage experts piloted their vessels forward. These weren't sleek fighters, but repurposed tugs, maintenance craft, and mining ships, each one loaded with simple but effective weapons. "Remember," Reynolds said over the comm to his pilots, "aim for the blind spots. Don't waste your shots." The salvage fleet approached the Dominion ships, looking so unthreatening that many of the alien gunners ignored them in favor of trying to target the smaller satellites. Reynolds piloted his ship, an old mining tug, toward the nearest Dominion vessel. His scanner, modified by Reed, showed him exactly where the shield was weakest. "There," he muttered. "Right there." He fired the tug's mining drill, never designed as a weapon, but now repurposed into one. The drill shot forward on a magnetic tether and passed right through the weak point in the shield. It connected with the Dominion ship's hull and began cutting through the metal. All across the battlefield, similar attacks were happening. Simple tools, drills, cutters, even magnetic grapples, were striking the Dominion ships in their weak spots. On his command ship, Vex watched in disbelief as damage reports came in from across his fleet. "Impossible," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Their technology is primitive. Their weapons are obsolete." "Sir," his second-in-command said urgently, "the human devices are bypassing our shields. Our scanning systems can't track them properly." Vex's shock turned to anger. "Recalibrate the shields. Adjust targeting parameters. Do not let these primitives make fools of us." The Dominion fleet began to respond. Their shield configurations shifted, adapting to the unexpected threat. Their weapons adjusted to target the larger human vessels. 3 of Reynolds' salvage ships were hit and exploded. Several more took damage and had to retreat. The battle was beginning to turn. Walker saw it happening and knew they were running out of time. "They're adapting faster than we expected," Reed said, concern in her voice. "Our advantage is slipping away." Walker nodded grimly. "It's time for our main attack. Target their flagship." The Defiance began moving toward the center of the Dominion fleet, where Vex's massive flagship dominated the battlefield. Unlike the salvage ships, the Defiance was large enough to draw immediate attention. "Human command vessel approaching," a Dominion officer reported to Vex. "Weapons locked." Vex smiled coldly. "Destroy it." The flagship's main guns fired, sending brilliant beams of energy toward the Defiance. But the old space station didn't try to dodge. Instead, it released a cloud of what looked like small metal balls, old communication satellites broken down to their basic components. The energy beams hit several of the satellites, which exploded spectacularly. The resulting debris cloud created a smoke screen that the Defiance disappeared into. "We've lost visual," the Dominion weapons officer reported. Vex slammed his fist on his command chair. "Find them." But the Defiance wasn't trying to hide. It was creating a distraction. While Vex's flagship focused on the command ship, Reynolds led his remaining salvage vessels in a coordinated attack on the flagship's engines. "All ships, target coordinates sent," Reynolds said into his comm. "Hit them with everything we've got." 20 salvage ships fired their makeshift weapons at precisely the same spot on the flagship's shield. The combined attack created a hole just large enough for Reynolds' ship to slip through. "I'm in," Reynolds reported to Walker, heading for the main engine housing. On the Defiance, Walker received the message with grim satisfaction. "Do it." Reynolds piloted his tug directly toward the flagship's massive engines. His ship carried the largest of Reed's blind spot bombs, a simple device that would overload the Dominion's power systems. Alarms blared on Vex's bridge as sensors finally detected the threat. "Human vessel inside our shields." An officer shouted. "It's heading for the engines." "Impossible," Vex roared. "Internal defenses, fire." Defensive turrets inside the shield perimeter turned and fired at Reynolds' ship. The old mining tug took multiple hits, its hull breaking apart. Reynolds knew he wouldn't make it out. As his ship began to come apart around him, he pushed the engines to their limit, aiming directly for the flagship's power core. "For Earth," he said quietly as his ship crashed into the Dominion vessel. The explosion rippled through the flagship's engine section. Secondary explosions followed as systems overloaded. The massive ship listed to one side, its perfect formation broken. Walker watched the successful attack with mixed emotions. They'd struck a critical blow, but at a terrible cost. "Reynolds did it," Reed said softly. Walker nodded. "Now we press our advantage. All ships, attack." The battle raged around Earth. The Dominion flagship, damaged by Reynolds' sacrifice, drifted with its main engines offline. But the alien fleet was far from beaten. Their remaining ships adjusted quickly, their shields reconfiguring to defend against the human tactics. On the Defiance, Admiral Walker watched as the tide began to turn. The element of surprise was gone. 3 more human ships exploded as Dominion weapons found their targets. "They're adapting faster than we expected," Reed said, her face grim. "We've lost 30% of our fleet already." Walker studied the tactical display. The Dominion ships had formed a defensive circle, covering each other's blind spots. Their advanced weapons were now successfully targeting the larger human vessels. "It's time," Walker said. "Deploy the Chaos Protocol." Reed hesitated. "Sir, we only get one shot at this. If it fails..." "It won't," Walker said with more confidence than he felt. "Do it." Reed nodded and entered a series of commands into her console. Throughout the human fleet, a signal was sent to the thousands of remaining pieces of modified space junk still attached to the Dominion shields. "Chaos Protocol active," Reed announced. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The battle continued, with more human ships taking heavy damage. "Did it work?" Walker asked. Reed checked her readings. "The signal is transmitting. The program is running. But I don't see any effect on Thayer." She stopped as the tactical display suddenly changed. One of the Dominion ship's shields flickered and then collapsed completely. "There," she said, pointing. "It's starting." One by one, the shields of the Dominion fleet began to malfunction. Some collapsed entirely. Others became unstable, creating massive gaps in their protection. On his damaged flagship, Vex watched in horror as reports came in from across his fleet. "What's happening?" he demanded. His chief technology officer worked frantically at his station. "The human devices attached to our shields are sending contradictory signals. The shield generators can't determine what's a threat and what isn't. The system is overloading." "Shut them down," Vex ordered. "Reboot the entire defense grid." "That would leave us completely exposed for at least 2 minutes," the officer warned. Vex slammed his fist on his command chair. "Do it." Throughout the Dominion fleet, shield systems shut down as their crews attempted to clear the conflicting signals. For the first time, the mighty Battleborn ships floated in space unprotected. Walker saw his opportunity. "All ships, focus fire on their weapon systems and engines. Disable, don't destroy if possible." The human fleet surged forward. Without their shields, the Dominion ships proved surprisingly vulnerable. Their hulls were designed to be protected by energy shields, not to withstand direct attacks. Mining lasers, magnetic harpoons, and improvised weapons struck their targets with devastating effect. 3 Dominion ships lost all power and drifted helplessly. 2 more suffered critical damage to their weapon systems. The rest tried to reform their defensive line, but without their shields working properly, they couldn't coordinate effectively. In his command center, Walker allowed himself a small smile. "It's working." Reed looked up from her console, her eyes wide. "Sir, the Dominion flagship is hailing us." Walker straightened his uniform. On screen, the main screen flickered, and Vex appeared. The alien commander's armor was damaged, and smoke filled the bridge behind him. For the first time, the arrogance was gone from his face. "Admiral Walker," Vex said, his voice tight with anger and disbelief. "Lord Commander," Walker replied calmly. "Are you prepared to discuss terms?" Vex's large eyes narrowed. "This trick will not save you. We have more ships. We will return with a larger fleet. We will burn your world to ash." Walker shook his head. "I don't think so. You see, we've been recording this entire battle. By now, the data is being transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. Everyone will know how Earth's junk fleet defeated the mighty Battleborn." Vex's face showed he understood the implications. The Dominion's power came not just from their technology, but from the fear they inspired. If word spread that primitive humans had defeated them, "What do you want?" Vex asked finally. "Simple," Walker said. "The Dominion will recognize Earth and the entire solar system as sovereign territory, never to be invaded or attacked. You will sign a non-aggression pact with us, and you will leave as soon as your ships are able. And if I refuse, then we finish what we started," Walker said, his voice hardening. "Your flagship is crippled. Half your fleet is disabled. We can destroy what remains if we must." A long silence followed as Vex considered his options. Finally, the alien commander nodded once. "The terms are acceptable." "Good," Walker said. "We'll send over the agreement shortly." The transmission ended, and the command center erupted in cheers. Reed hugged Walker impulsively, then stepped back, embarrassed. "Sorry, sir. I can't believe we did it." Walker smiled. "We all did it. Every person who worked on this fleet. Every piece of so-called junk that found a new purpose." His smile faded. "And every life lost, including Reynolds." The celebration sobered as they remembered their fallen comrades. 3 days later, the remaining Dominion ships left Earth's orbit. The treaty was signed, with copies transmitted to every major world in the Dominion's empire to ensure they couldn't easily break their word. On the observation deck of the Defiance, Walker stood with Reed, watching the last alien ship disappear into the distance. "Will they come back?" Reed asked quietly. "Probably," Walker admitted, "but not soon, and we'll be ready when they do. We've already started examining the technology we captured from their damaged ships," Reed said. "It's incredible what we can learn from it." Walker nodded. "That's the future. But we shouldn't forget what really saved us." "What's that?" Walker gestured to the window, where pieces of their junk fleet still orbited Earth. "Creativity. Using what we had instead of wishing for what we didn't. Finding strength in what others saw as weakness." Reed smiled. "I never thought I'd be so proud of junk." Back on Earth, celebrations continued around the world. Museums quickly created exhibits showing pieces of the famous junk fleet alongside captured Dominion technology. Children played with toys representing the mismatched human ships defeating the sleek alien vessels. In Washington, D.C., a memorial was unveiled to honor those who had fallen in the battle. Reynolds' name was at the top, with a simple inscription beneath it. "They laughed at our junk fleet until it annihilated their Battleborn." Walker stood at attention as the memorial was dedicated. As the ceremony ended, he looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the pieces of humanity's junk fleet still circled the planet, once discarded, now forever honored. And far away, beyond the solar system, word was spreading throughout the galaxy. "Be careful when you encounter humans. They can turn even their trash into something terrifying."